Money in the Bank 2026 is just 2 months away. So in this video, I will be going through potential winners for the men and women's Money in the Bank briefcases. And then at the end of the video, I will give you my two favorites. Let's start it off by talking about Soruka, who recently lost the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And she is on the poster for Money in the Bank, and I don't see really what else she could do at Money in the Bank. Maybe feud with Raquel Rodriguez for the IC title. But other than that, I don't see anything else other than being in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and I think having her in the Money in the Bank ladder match would be great because you'd have one of those crazy people, in a good way, who are willing to take the big crazy spots and do crazy shit. And obviously, Soruka in the Money in the Bank briefcase fits her. I think it would be great. So, really a very strong possibility that Soruka wins this, especially considering the fact that she is seemingly handpicked, cherry-picked by WWE as the future of women's wrestling. She is definitely going to be a strong favorite for this year's Money in the Bank ladder match. And she's young, and that, a potential world champion, and that perfectly fits the mold for a Money in the Bank briefcase holder. So yeah, she's going to be a strong favorite this year, and probably in the next coming years. Let's talk about Lyra Valkyria, who is still hot right now, even though WWE terribly followed up her beating Bayley. She's still hot. This new heel character is still awesome. Again, young and a potential world champion, fits the mold of a Money in the Bank holder. Especially her with this new heel character, I think it would really fit her well. And, beating Bayley, it would be a great follow-up to have her win Money in the Bank. However, what makes me question this is the fact that WWE has followed up her beating Bayley in the biggest match of her career. They followed it up by an ad break segment. I believe another ad break segment. Her being in the background of an episode of Raw. And now she finally got some TV time with Soruka and Io Sky on this most recent episode of Monday Night Raw. So that is a big concern I have, but I still think she will probably be in the match and will also be one of those girls who will take or do crazy spots. So consider her also a strong favorite. Let's talk about Roxanne Perez. While she has been booked like complete and utter shit on the main roster, just taking pin after pin after pin after pin, even took the pin on Raw last night, but very young, also could be the future of women's wrestling. I think she's like one of the youngest people on the entire roster even, and generally, Money in the Bank briefcases go better with heels, and she is obviously a heel, and it would be super interesting to see how tensions rise between her and Liv Morgan. There's already tensions there, and with her being the world champion, I feel like it would only get worse. It would perfectly set her up to turn on Liv, which I along with a lot of other people are kind of begging for, because the Judgment Day really isn't doing anything for her. She's just the pin eater of the women's side of the Judgment Day. So this would be huge for Roxanne Perez, and I would find it super duper entertaining. Consider her a favorite. I wouldn't say a strong favorite, though. Let's talk about Blake Monroe, who, yes, debuted on SmackDown 6 weeks ago, still hasn't had a match, still hasn't had, an in-ring promo, hasn't stepped in the ring on SmackDown since her debut, basically. So, not basically, that's just what happened. So she's obviously being misused, and she had 10 weeks of teasers or whatever, or 8 weeks or something. So do I have faith that they will do this? No. But should they do this, and would it be unbelievably entertaining? Yes, absolutely. This briefcase would genuinely fit her so perfectly. Tiffany Stratton has an extremely similar character to hers, and look at what she did with the briefcase. It was awesome. So you could do the exact same thing here with Blake Monroe, and it would be a great way for her to kick off her main roster run, kind of like for real this time. and it would be a good way to kind of pay her back for this absolute dog shit booking. Having her second match be winning the Money in the Bank briefcase would be, I think it would be awesome. It would obviously be huge for Blake Monroe, and it would finally get her some TV time, I assume. So it would just be a win-win, a really big win for Blake Monroe. And honestly, if I could pick who I want to win the Money in the Bank briefcase the most on the women's side, I would honestly say Blake Monroe. Next, let's talk about big-time Becky Lynch. Does she need the briefcase? No, absolutely not. Is she, a young, aspiring star that could be a future world champion? No, she's a multi-time world champion, an experienced veteran. However, the reason that I have her here is because she would genuinely be the most entertaining thing on the entire of the WWE roster. Just imagine how unbelievably annoying that Becky Lynch would be with the Money in the Bank briefcase. She was already annoying just as IC champion, even without the title. She was so annoying. She was such a troll. She was so oblivious. And just imagine that multiplied by 2 with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, it is a recipe for a huge success. However, I don't think that this will happen, and I don't really want it to happen because she doesn't need it. However, that hasn't stopped WWE in the past. They gave it to Seth Rollins last year. He absolutely didn't need it. But if she wins this, I will absolutely not be complaining. But another reason I don't think it'll happen is because she'll probably be in a triple threat with Stephanie, Becky, and Liv at Money in the Bank. But if she wins this, you will not see me complaining in the slightest. Let's talk about someone who I haven't seen many people mention, kind of surprisingly, and that is Tatum Paxley. Recently called up to the main roster, awesome debut, super talked about, paired with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, 2 main eventers, super young, super talented, the best all-around complete package of a wrestler in the entire company, is 100% on the women's side, and this would be awesome. This would be so entertaining. I think a lot of people would love it. If you're not an NXT watcher, if you haven't seen her work, she would do great things with this briefcase, I think, especially if she embraces a more aggressive side, a more angry, ruthless side, which she kind of became that in her feud with Izzy Dame. Just overall, a lot to like here, a lot of potential. The only issue I really see is that she's a babyface, and so is Chelsea Green, who is the champion. However, she might be dropping it with her broken orbital. We don't really know, but that is the only issue I really see with this. I would love to see Tatum Paxley as Miss Money in the Bank, or Mrs. Money in the Bank. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about Chelsea Green. Now, you might be thinking, Sawyer, what are you talking about, dude? She's the women's champion. And even if she isn't, she'll probably vacate it and she'll be out. So she won't be able to compete in the match. Well, to that I say, nada! Because you cannot sit here and tell me you don't see WWE having her drop the title in less than 2 months. That is absolutely something that they would do, even with how much momentum she has, even with how over she is, even with how popular she is. They would absolutely do something like that. So this is a bit of a shot in the dark. It's not very likely. It's much more likely that either she's the champion or she is out with the injury. But you have to take this into consideration as a possibility. And I mean, do I have to tell you how good Chelsea Green would be with the Money in the Bank briefcase? I think we all know. Now let's switch over to the men's side of things. Let's talk about Trick Williams, who recently dropped the U.S. title, lost to Baron Corbin twice for some reason, but it is reported that he is moving on to quote-unquote bigger and better things. Could that be the main event scene? Could that be Tricky in the Bank? Unfortunately, I think so. And the reason I say unfortunately is because there's someone else that I desperately want to win that damn briefcase. Just please, for the love of God, have Trick win it next year and have the guy I want win it this year, please. I'll get to that later, but this, yeah, it fits him. Yeah, it would be entertaining. Furry in the bank would be cool, but yeah, I would really like this. I think it would be super entertaining. But again, now I am super worried because my guy might not win it. Let's talk about Dominic Mysterio. Sorry, Dirty Daddy Dominic Mysterio. Yeah, he's been booked like shit, so that's a pretty good counter argument, losing to Danhausen, Dragon Lee, and Chad Gable. Back-to-back weeks. 3 losses in 2 weeks is crazy work. But I mean, Dom with Money in the Bank. Oh my Lord, have mercy. I'm about to... It would be very similar to Lyra as Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Dom would not be afraid to cash in. He would not be afraid to be dirty. Like, you know, his name is literally Dirty Dom. I mean, the Money in the Bank briefcase is honestly a pretty dirty way to win a world championship. So it would fit Dom perfectly. I mean, this just would be absolute cinema. In fact, at the beginning of the year, I believe I predicted Dom to win Money in the Bank. Let's talk about All Ego Ethan Page, who would be kind of similar to a Becky Lynch. He would just be so annoying with it, and I think that would make for great TV. It would be super entertaining. Also, what is going on with Penta's right eye in this picture? It's kind of freaking me out. Also, I forgot to mention, Trick is also on the Money in the Bank poster. So yeah, that's cool. I'm cooked. However, I don't see him as a guy who could dethrone a Roman Reigns, but I do see him as someone who could dethrone a CM Punk. And I mean, the dude's obviously ready for the main event. Well established in AEW. I mean, he's been main roster ready since day one on NXT, so it would absolutely work. It would absolutely fit him, but I don't think he would cash in on Roman Reigns. Let's talk about Joe Hendry. This might be a little bit of a weird pick, but just imagine how overpowered it would be for Joe Hendry to combine his say his name and he appears gimmick with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, that is genuinely the most overpowered duo I could possibly think of. That is a better duo than PB&J. However, I don't have any faith whatsoever that WWE will do this because they have seemingly just like stopped caring about Joe Hendry. They completely got rid of the thing that made him famous, the say his name and he appears thing, which, like, dude, what the fuck? That's what got him here. That's what put him in the Royal Rumble. Like, I genuinely don't get it. That's why he was so over in NXT, randomly showing up in places, coming out of the refrigerator, being in a NASCAR suit and taking off a helmet. That's what made him popular, and WWE has stopped caring about it. I mean, it's literally the start of his theme song. Like, seriously, man, come on. And I've complained about this so many times, but so I won't do it that much right now, at least. But this would genuinely be awesome. However, the reason I could counter argue with this is Joe Hendry isn't the type of guy to be a world champion. He's more of a comedy wrestler. No offense to Joe Hendry, that's just like what he is booked as. Let's talk about Ricky Saints. Hasn't been on WWE TV since Night of Champions, I believe, which is about a month and a half now, which is unbelievable. The dude he made his SmackDown debut going up against Cody Rhodes, or confronting Cody Rhodes, I believe. And then, of course, was in the feud with Trick Williams, and then just disappeared. But this will be a great way to revive him, a great way to bring him back. Ricky Saints is so unbelievably talented. You gotta get this guy back on TV, man. And I want the 3-hour SmackDown back because, yes, I know that a lot of people A lot of people are just saying that because they forget how bad 3 hours is, and then when it's 3 hours, they say they want to go back to 2 hours, but they forget how bad that is. But I genuinely liked the 3 hour format better, and I still do. Yes, it is more recaps, it is more video packages. However, it at least gives WWE the opportunity to put people like Ricky Saints, like Jordan Grace, like Julia, like Blake Monroe, Kiana James, Ilya Dragunov, Carmelo Hayes. It at least gives them a chance to put people like that on the card. So that's why I like it better. I don't know why Ricky Saints is doing the emote in this picture, by the way, but Ricky Saints would be so entertaining as Mr. Money in the Bank. Just his gimmick goes so well with the Money in the Bank briefcase. This would be awesome. Next, I have a sleeper pick, but hear me out. Ludwig Kaiser. I know he hasn't been on WWE TV for goddamn near 500 days, which is absolutely criminal. However, hear me out. Would this not be an unbelievable way for Ludwig Kaiser to return? I mean, he has had so much potential. The Money in the Bank briefcase would be, I think, pretty solid with him. It's not the best, but I think it would fit him, or at least it could. And he's a heel. Roman Reigns is a babyface. CM Punk is a babyface. I mean, hey, it's not impossible. So if Ludwig Kaiser comes back finally and wins Money in the Bank, don't be surprised. I told you. Here we go. The last person on the men's side of things, L.A. Knight. Yeah. I mean, do I need to explain my case for LA Knight? Yeah. Do I need to explain it? I really don't. You know, I mean, he should have won it like the past, 3 years or whatever it is. I mean, him and the Money in the Bank briefcase are genuinely like a match made in heaven. I mean, it does not get more perfect. It's like they made the Money in the Bank briefcase specifically for LA Knight. Yeah. And genuinely, this is the best year out of all of them. And in Sati Zap's video about this exact same thing, which is where I got this video idea from, is just that it's never the right time. It seems like it's never the right time to have LA Knight win the Money in the Bank briefcase, but you have an entire year for it to be the right time. And usually come around WrestleMania, around June, July, August, we are like, oh my god, LA Knight would be such a good Money in the Bank right now. In the early 6 months, basically, of the year, we're like, oh, LA Knight would be such a good Money in the Bank holder. It is genuinely the perfect opportunity. Good things come to those that wait. Bullshit. But I mean, this has gotta be the year, man. It's gotta be. Me and all the other LA Knight fans cannot wait any longer. We have waited long enough. Enough! We need LA Knight, as Mr. Money in the Bank. Imagine him cashing in on Roman Reigns. It would be absolute cinema. The biggest moment of his career. It fits perfectly. He hates Roman Reigns. He hates the bloodline. He is the hottest that he has ever been right now. Have him win the goddamn thing. And I said I was going to give my 2 picks at the end of the video. L.A. Knight. Yeah, baby. This is the year. Hopefully, knock on wood. Please, WWE. Actually, you know what? No, no. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna get my hopes up. I obviously want LA Knight, to win, but I'm supposed to predict who I think is going to win, and that person, I think, unfortunately, is going to be Trick Williams. I'm really debating hard here between Lara Valkyria, Roxanne Perez, and Tatum Paxley. God, this is tough. I'm going to eliminate Roxanne Perez because I feel like Liv's going to drop the title at or before Money in the Bank to either Stephanie or Becky. However, I could absolutely just as easily see her retaining because everybody thought she was going to lose at SummerSlam, especially because of the curse, but it seems like that just doesn't matter anymore. So it could easily happen and have, the same, just repeat the Tiffy and Nia story, but with Roxy and Liv. I think that could work, but I'm going to say this one doesn't happen. So it's down to either Lyra Valkyria or Tatum Paxley. And just purely based off of how poorly this whole heel turn and Bayley win has been followed up, I'm going to eliminate Lyra Valkyria and say that your 2026 Mrs. Money in the Bank will be none other than Tatum Paxley. That is going to be it, though, for this video. Let me know who you think will win Money in the Bank. Thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want, and bye.